This just looks like you've made Pong more frustrating to play. A bit like trying to make speed typing more fun by using chopsticks to type. Gonna be honest, I wouldn't pay money for this. I might play if it was free or someone invited me to play with them, but I can't see myself playing it for more than 10 minutes. I guess you're fun at parties, mate. Hey guys, welcome to the second Pong devlog. In this devlog, I talk about the process of creating a Steam page and show you the progress I made on the UI and the movements. I'll talk about feedback I had and clarify some concerns, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, let's get started. As soon as I knew I was going to work on Pong, I thought about creating the Steam page. It's a good idea to have your Steam presence as early as possible. The goal is to have the Steam page as an entry point for your game. People will be able to wishlist, see the descriptions and some screenshots of your game, but also find links to your socials, Discord, YouTube, etc. So to talk briefly about the process, I found it actually simpler than some people say it is. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit boring to do and the Steam interface is pretty bad, but if you follow closely what's indicated, you should not have any problem. As I already had a company, I only had to fill the usual informations. The only less easy part was the taxes. As I'm French and my company also, I need to make a request to not pay the American taxes of 30%. Steam will actually help you do this by simply filling a bunch of infos and they'll then send the form to the US taxes. This was verified in about 4 days, so it was pretty fast. Then it was time to create the page itself. You have a lot of assets to make with very specific size. At that time, I still didn't have a defined art style and direction, so I tried some stuff to have something for the page. I know I'll update it in the future. I did all of it with Inkscape, a vector graphics software that gives me the ease of resizing everything however I want. I created a rectangle for each asset that was required by Steam with the required size, so I could just fill them in. They ask you a bunch of questions like a description, age rating, estimated release date, etc. It took about 5 hours to make the assets and create the page. When I was done, I sent my page for review and it was approved about 3 days later. As I said in the beginning, the process is not really hard but boring, especially since the interface feels outdated and clunky. I think it's time they make it more modern. At that point, I've done nothing in regards of the Steam integration, so my game doesn't use Steam and I didn't do any build for it, it's just a Steam page. I tried to integrate the Steam SDK as soon as possible to test the remote play together functionality and add achievements. Talking about achievements, I've started thinking about some. I want to do the usual that rewards you for playing the games, so first play in a mode, 10th play in a mode, etc. But I also want to do more fun ones, like scoring a goal at high speed or very low speed. So for that, I need to track the speed of the ball when there's a goal. I think it would also be cool to have achievements for the numbers of battles you created or the amount of kilometers you ran. This will require to track some stats, but I think it's not too hard. I'll think about more along the way, and if you have ideas for some cool ones, please share them with me in the comments below. I know that a lot of devs don't like doing UI work for their game, but I actually enjoy it. You might think it's a bit early to work on the UI, but my goal is to have a playable version as soon as possible, and I want the players to actually use the UI to select their side, play mode, etc. I want feedback as soon as possible on the usability of the UI because I want it to be understandable. When you launch Pong, it will be to play with friends, and the last thing you want is to have a clunky UI where you don't know what you're supposed to do to start playing. I went with something quite simple that works well for now. At first, you'll have the title screen of course, and when you select play, you'll be guided through 3 or 4 screens. In the first one, you'll select your play mode. Classic is the simplest experience of Pong. Basically what you're seeing from the beginning. Arcade will be special modes, like moving goals, power-ups, and stuff like that. This is where Pong will be fully experienced, and will be even funnier and chaotic. Tournament is pretty self-explanatory, good for your game nights and special events. And finally, custom gives you the ability to choose everything, like the duration, number of points, what modes or power-ups you want, etc. Right now, I only made the screens for the classic mode, so when you click on it, you have to select the number of players, 2 players in 1v1 or 4 players in 2v2. In the future, there will probably be more stuff here, but that's for another time. I select 1v1 and now we arrive at the team select screen. The team select lets you choose your side and gives the ability to hide player by pressing X on a controller, for example. This will be especially useful in 2v2. Once both players are ready, there is a small countdown and the game will start. As you can see, nothing is really polished, but I have something that works. I'll continue to work on it, especially to make it more pleasing visually. I've already tried to add some textures to the buttons, and while I think it looks okay, I want more colors. I feel like it's way too dark for now. Also, I probably separate the layers of the texture, that way I'll be able to animate the buttons when they are selected. Playtesting is an essential part of every game, and even more with multiplayer ones for obvious reasons. I made a second playtest session with a close friend of mine, and again it was a great success. Unfortunately, I didn't record any footage of that, but I can assure you we had a lot of fun. Just like with the first session, in about 3 minutes, the player understands the control and start having fun by trying different combinations, build defense, etc. We pointed out few things that needed to be fixed or made better. I'll talk about them in the next point. The next step for playtesting will be to test new maps and modes when they'll be created, and also test the game with the Steam Remote Play. Hopefully this will come in the next devlog. I did some fixes based on what the first 2 playtest sessions brought out, and for example, the player could keep its momentum between the matches, which would screw the initial placement. Paddles could be created in between points, resulting in huge paddles. Thankfully, those were simple fixes. I also fixed the creation of the paddles. Now the collision is created immediately and the paddle will only appear to become bigger visually. I've also worked more on making movement slide smoother. I'm trying to make sure the paddles and doubles will react correctly to being hit. This was especially a problem when the player was not moving at all. Hopefully this should be now fixed. Talking about your game can be hard, especially with non-gamers, and my pitch is still not perfect. I don't remember where, but I think I saw a tweet from someone saying they exported their game to mobile just to show people. I thought this was a great idea. Even though my game is multiplayer, it's still so much easier to show what the game is by actually playing it. Sure, you could show a video, but you won't see how the player is controlling the game, so it can be confusing. Exporting for mobile with Godot is super easy. In reality, I could have just pushed the export to mobile button and that would be it. But I wanted to be able to play the game even if I don't have any controller with me, which will often be the case, let's be honest. Who carries a gamepad with them when going out for a drink? I added a simple on-screen joystick thanks to a super cool add-on, link in the description. To make sure the joystick is only there when the game runs on mobile, I've added a simple check at the beginning of the game. If I detect the game is running on Android, then I make the joystick visible. And with this simple setup, I can showcase my game with so much ease. The most important part is I don't need to make anything special to export for mobile. At any moment, I can build a new version and install it on my phone. The UI works out of the box because by default, Godot will emulate a mouse from the touch inputs. The last thing I want to do in this devlog is address some of the feedbacks and concerns I got from posting on various places. Just before that, I want to thank everybody that replied to my post with excitements and questions. I got some really good feedback when posting on Reddit. My post on r/gaming reached more than 1.4k upvotes before being removed. In these posts, I got a lot of the same concerns, so I'm going to address it now. I can see myself getting confused or just randomly drawing lines. This is a common concern about PONG, and I totally understand why. First, looking at the gameplay footage and playing yourself are two different things, especially with a multiplayer game. The second thing is the colors, or should I say color, is not helping. Because everything is white, it might be hard to read the game. I try to alleviate that by making the ball red when it goes fast, but it's not enough. To reassure you all, I can tell you that when playing with friends during the first 2 playtest sessions, visibility was never a concern. I don't know exactly how I will communicate on that. I guess that people will just have to try out the game for themselves. One thing for sure is that I'll work on the colors and the maps, and I'll do my best to make it as readable as possible. I would draw lines up against the scoreline and wait. This is another common concern, that you can just spawn paddles and wait, and that it's ultimately the best technique to win. Again, it's hard to see the depth of the gameplay from a 30-second trailer, but this is not a valid strategy in reality. Actually, you can see from one of the gameplay clips that I'm trying to do that, and it just doesn't really work. So why is that? Well, first, when you create a paddle, it has a small velocity in the direction you dashed. So even if you manage to create 3 perfectly aligned paddles to protect your goal, they'll they'll move away on their own. Second thing is that the ball will easily push them away. Paddles are really light, so if the ball is coming fast towards them, they'll just be pushed away. Actually, you could easily create a paddle and push it towards the defense of your opponents to destroy it. Even if you manage to place them perfectly and that they really stop the ball, that's good for you. But you've used your 3 paddles at once and need to wait for some to disappear to create new ones. Is there a limit on how many lines you can create? I can see a problem of just spamming lines. Talking about creating paddles, this is another point of concerns. It's not really clear on the UI, but you have 3 little indicators that tell you how many paddles you have left for creation. So at any time, you can only have 3 paddles and they'll disappear about 6.5 seconds of their creation. Also, their size is limited by the duration of the dash. Basically, the paddle is created from the starting and ending point of your dash. Because the dash is of a fixed duration, paddles can't be giant. Not gonna lie, it doesn't look like it's going to be fun. It's just gonna be frustrating seeing how even if you react in time, the object is not solid until it stops drawing, so you still won't block the ball. I can see myself getting frustrated really quickly and never playing it again. Can't see myself spending 15 minutes learning to play a game that will bore me in 10. Some people feel like they'll be frustrated because the game will be unfair or too long to learn for what it is. First of all, the time it takes to spawn the paddle is now only visual. The collision shape will appear immediately and make sure that you can defend yourself at the last second. About the frustration, I think it's mostly a problem of conveying the game feel in a short video. I can assure you that you'll pick up the controls in less than 5 minutes, and the playtime will probably be more than 10 minutes, thanks to the various maps and play modes. Even without that, I spent a good hour and a half playing with the first version with my girlfriend. The gameplay is just addicting, especially when you start to understand the nuances. My girlfriend is a good example of how easy it is to pick up the controls. She's not a gamer and she's not really used to a gamepad, but she understood everything in like 3 minutes, so you should not worry about the game being too confusing in my opinion. This comment is similar to the previous one, but I wanted to address this one particularly because I've made a choice that actually makes the ball control way easier. You see, when applying an impulse to a paddle, I have 2 choices. Either I apply the impulse where the player hits the paddle, which is more physically correct, or I imply a central impulse, so at the center of the paddle. I choose the second option, and this little thing helps tremendously to know where you're going to shoot the paddle. Of course, it's less realistic because if you hit the paddle near the edge, the paddle will go straight, but it allows you to shoot with more precision. What happens if I apply positional impulse is that most of the time you can't really throw the paddles, and they just start spinning uncontrollably. One last comment before ending the video. This just looks like you've made Pong more frustrating to play. A bit like trying to make speed typing more fun by using chopsticks to type. Gonna be honest, I wouldn't pay money for this. I might play if it was free or someone invited me to play with them, but I can't see myself playing it for more than 10 minutes. I guess you're fun at parties, mate. All jokes aside, just a friendly reminder that not all feedback should be taken too seriously. Obviously, this person is not my target audience, or maybe they just can't see the fun in Dash Pong, and that's fine. Not everyone has to like your game. If you find an audience, even a small one, it's fine. Some people will just always be unhappy about what you're bringing to the table. And on this last word, I'm ending the second Dash Pong devlog. I hope you liked it. Again, this devlog is out at a time where I already worked more on the game. So in the next devlog, I'll show you different maps I created, maybe some special modes, and more playtest. I hope you are as excited as I am. If you like Dash Pong, you can wishlist on Steam. It helps me a lot. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram for more, and join the Discord. In the meantime, have a great day and I'll see you later. Bye!